welcome to the Head-to-Head Sports Debate here at House 67 Productions. My name is Sonny Terranova, joined by
Tristan Maines.
And we are going to be debating a few topics today. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Tristan, let's start off with the Philadelphia Phillies, man. I mean, big loss in the NLCS, obviously falling a game short of reaching the World Series once again like last year and falling short of the expectations that were imposed upon them by the Philadelphia community here. I mean, it was bad, man. It was a bad loss, bad series, and yeah, I mean, back-to-back home losses in this series after starting 2-0. What is your thoughts about this series?
It was honestly just a horrible performance from the big three, especially when you need them most in Game 7. 1 for 9. That's unexcusable. You're giving them over $300 million. Yeah, that's crazy. You were up 2-0, lost 2 straight. You ended up winning 1. You were up 3-2, and then you lose 2 to close out the series. That's horrible, unexcusable.
It was. I mean, Castellanos going 0 for 23 in this series. Just absolutely pitiful. I mean, they lost to a young team, a young Arizona team. I mean, as we saw, the Phillies have great hitters, but their bullpen, I don't know if they got the greatest bullpen ever or what it is. I mean, they're just lethal in the bullpen. They were not able to, there was just no contact. Shades of last year in Game 5 in the World Series, and it was just bad. I mean, Bryce Harper and Trey Turner combined getting paid $650 million and not able to produce at the biggest moments that you need them. I mean, just you cannot allow that to happen, man.
No, not at all. I mean, this team, you guys should have gone to the World Series and played the Texas Rangers, but you came up short again. Hopefully next year it's different.
Seems like a common theme here. We're hoping next year, every single year.
For all Philly sports.
In Game 7, they had to even bring in their ace, Zach Wheeler, and he had to pitch. I mean, he was doing well. I mean, was helping them get back up at the plate, and he was throwing in the strike zone and obviously kept the Phillies in it. But with the bats, them not being able to connect, I mean, it all seemed all for naught. And so having to bring in Zach Wheeler, I mean, that's just desperation at that point.
Pitching can only hold you in a game for so long. I mean, you got to get hits, you got to get something cooking, and there was just nothing going for the Phillies that game.
Not at all. I mean, let's talk Aaron Nola, the pitcher, one of their aces. Do they bring him back? Was very inconsistent this year. Had very good games, don't get me wrong on that, but I mean, in the playoffs, he wasn't his best self.
No.
Do you believe that they should bring him back?
I think you might not have many other choices. I don't know if any big stars are going to want to come to Philly. Maybe Shohei, he's available this offseason, but he's going to want a pretty bag.
Alternate reality.
Yeah, in an alternate reality, maybe he's a Philly, but we'll see. I think you should bring him back, though.
We'll have to see. There's a lot of decisions to be made for the Phillies. Let's talk the 76ers. Let's move on to the big trade. Obviously, the James Harden saga has ended with the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers and Clippers make a deal that goes back to July this past summer. The two teams have been communicating. The Sixers do receive, for James Harden, they receive Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin. They got a lot of picks, actually, in this trade that I, for one, personally did not think they were going to receive. They received a 2028 unprotected first, 2 second-round picks, a 2029 pick swap, and an additional first-round pick from the OKC Thunder. The Clippers received James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Filip Petrusev. What is your thoughts? I mean, obviously, I'm sure this was a trade that you didn't think the Sixers were going to get as many assets as they did.
I didn't.
What is your thoughts?
I think it's honestly best-case scenario for the Sixers. You got some quality guys here with Robert Covington and Marcus Morris. Batum is a decent stretch. KJ Martin's a little bit unproven. But 2 firsts that's what you want, especially because in 2028, we don't know what the Clippers are going to look like. By then, Kawhi and PG and Russ are probably all going to be gone. That could end up being a top 10 pick, lottery pick. We'll have to wait and see. The 2026 one is protected for the Thunder. Again, you're hoping the Thunder are good by then, and you get at least a 15, 16 overall pick. Best case scenario for the Sixers, Harden's gone. You're off that payload.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Get him out of here. Good riddance. Now you can start to monitor other stars around the league if you want to go that route. Maybe trade these picks for another star because you didn't have any picks to trade before this.
Not at all.
So
I'm just happy they got that bum out of here. Get him out of here. James Harden is officially he's a quitter. He's a loser. He's a fraud. His reputation is forever damaged. I mean, I think that's one thing we can both agree on. that this guy, third team in 3 years, he has requested out, and he's like Ben Simmons. We dealt with the same thing with Ben Simmons. Now, to me, they're sort of the same person. On the court, they're different.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I will say they both disappeared when you needed them most.
Oh,
Game
for sure.
sevens,
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
James Harden even did worse than Ben Simmons. I mean, not by much. It was 2 points to 4 points,
yeah.
but still.
We'll just keep it honest. They were both terrible.
They were terrible when you needed them most.
Pitiful. The Clippers did send, also in the trade, they sent a 2027 first-round pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder, clearing way for the Thunder to move the protected 2026 first-round pick, as you mentioned, to the Sixers. The 76ers also did waive Danny Green for roster space. They are bringing back expiring contracts to keep them on track to potentially have as much as $50 to $65 million in cap space next summer, obviously for free agency. For the Clippers, I mean, Harden joins All-Stars Kawhi and Paul George, obviously joining Russell Westbrook as well. They also kept Terrence Mann, which was a shocker as well.
They kept Terrence Mann.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be in that trade as well.
I didn't think Terrence Mann was going to get gone. They really loved Terrence Mann. I also didn't think Norman Powell would be gone, so I thought maybe Bones Highland would have gone, and that would have been a good pickup for the Sixers. He's a quality six-man, good scorer, good facilitator off the bench. That would have been better if you could have got him, but they're also pretty high on him. So
yeah, I mean, I like the assets the Sixers got. You have
sure.
now a few more bench pieces to bolster the bench, right? Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, who could probably start, Nicholas Batum for the bench, even though he's older, KJ Martin, and obviously the picks. I mean, I thought they probably would have gotten only, I mean, maybe Bones Highland and 2 picks possibly, but no, they got a few assets for the bench that they'll be able to use for sure. A projected lineup, I think you're probably looking at Tyrese Maxey, obviously, DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris. I think Robert Covington probably starts now, in his second stint in Philly.
He'll probably come off as a power forward.
And obviously Joel Embiid. And then your bench, obviously Pat Bev, Kelly Oubre, KJ Martin, Marcus Morris, and Paul Reed. I mean, I think that's a much better bench than what they had.
It's definitely much better than what you guys did have. I mean, even Batum, if he does play, he's a solid stretch. Marcus Morris and Robert Covington are both 3-and-D guys. That's something that you guys need is more stretches, more three-point shooting for this team. And they bring that. We'll have to wait and see what it looks like. We're not exactly sure what the starting lineup will be, but they play tonight, don't they?
They do. They play Toronto tonight. The one thing I will say I will thank Harden for is his development with Tyrese Maxey.
Right.
I do believe that he did help him in a way. I think you're starting to see little instances where his passing is sort of, the playmaking is sort of getting there. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is still so young. I mean, 21, he turns 22 this month, so still very young. I mean, when he hits his prime, it's going to be something special for sure. But expectations for this team, I mean, obviously, everyone would say second round.
I have this team maybe getting out of the first round. Depends on the matchup they get.
Maybe out of the first round?
Maybe. It really depends on who they play.
You don't think they're making it out of the first round?
Depending on who they play, no. If they play the Bucks, Celtics, Cavs even, I think that all those teams could beat the Sixers.
So do you believe they'll be a top 4 seed?
I have them closer to 5 to 6, honestly.
5 to 6?
Yeah.
I think they're going to be at least a top 4 seed, at least in my opinion. My expectations, I mean, this is a breath of fresh air now. I mean, really, we saw Maxey and Embiid, it was them two when the whole Ben Simmons thing was going on. But now you have Maxey, Embiid. Tobias is still, he gets his 18 points here and there. But I like the bench. I think that's going to be big.
Kelly Oubre's been big for the bench.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Maxey's averaging 30 right now.
Yeah, Maxey's playing fantastic. He's young. He's going to develop really great. He might even be an all-star this year. We'll have to wait and see. Best case scenario is that he can take over this team and be the second star alongside Embiid, who's an MVP.
For me, it is hard to say past the second round.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it really is. Obviously, Milwaukee is very tough. Damian Lillard and Giannis. And then obviously Boston, who just put up 155 the other night. And they're always around, obviously, with the tandem of Brown and Tatum.
Now Drew Holiday to the mix, and Porzingis, and Derek White, who's an All-NBA defender. It's a tough matchup. I mean,
Porzingis as well now.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. But for me, it really is hard to see them getting past the second round. But with Nick Nurse, he's
definitely a better coach than Doc, I think.
Of course.
he elevates all the players around him. You see it. I will say Tobias this year has looked pretty good, and Nick Nurse brings that out of all his players. He likes to get everybody involved. It's not a two-man show. That's best case scenario for you all is maybe second round.
We'll have to see, man. Only time will tell. We're going to move on now to the Philadelphia Eagles, 7-1, a league best, 7-1 on the year. Obviously, most games so far throughout the year, they haven't played their best ball. It looks like obviously now the offense is starting to hit their stride. They're clicking now. Defensively, they just get lit up. But let's talk about it, man. 7-1, where are you at with this football team?
I will say currently they are the best team in the league. The record shows it. They're one game ahead of everybody else. Even in their conference, I think they're 2 games ahead of everybody. They have a tough stretch coming up, though, and that's really going to prove if this Eagles team is the best in the league or if they're just like everybody else. They struggle against good teams. We'll have to wait and see.
All I know is wins, man.
Wins. Yeah,
All
you are 7-1.
That's all I know. Let's talk about Jalen's knee, and obviously with his knee it being a big factor, and everybody. I mean, he just walked out of the press conference because media kept asking him about it. There is some situations, plays where you do see him limping. We saw it this past week against Washington. Listen, man, he put up a big game this past week.
He's getting hit a lot more than he was last year. And that's what you want to worry about, especially against his Dallas pass rush. Dallas's pass rush is very good. And you got to try to keep him clean this game because if they get after him, you really start to worry about the knee. You're playing a lot of good defenses coming up. You got to try to keep him healthy. You need Jalen. Without Jalen, this team doesn't go.
Of course.
What
am I going to sit here and say I'm confident in Mariota? I mean, come on.
Mariota's not going to get it done.
But I'm not too concerned with the knee injury. I mean, it is only a bone bruise, but that hurts when you get hit there. That hurts. But I'm not fully concerned. Jalen has been putting up numbers. He's been winning, and until it fully, kicks in where he's not able to run, and he's not able to run to his full mobility that we've seen. But I mean, he's still able to run in some cases. But we're seeing him more in the pocket a lot. So that's what I like about that. Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, has done very well. Besides this past week, but he held that track star team, as a lot of people call it in Miami, to 10 points.
He did, and I will say Desai, I like Desai a lot more than Jonathan Gannon, just simply because rushing 4 isn't going to get you pressure all the time, especially against great offensive lines. Desai's not afraid to dial up the blitz. You're getting after the quarterback still really well this year. Hassan's finally come into his own after starting off slow. Jalen Carter's been a great addition. He's a monster. Josh Sweat's even have a solid year. So the size really brought out the best out of that front four. You would like to see more from the secondary. I do think your corners take a step back. Kevin Byard, he's a strong leader. Most interceptions since 2016 for safety. So hopefully he can clean up some of the mistakes that they make. And this week it's going to be a tough challenge for you guys.
For sure. I mean, that Kevin Byard, that was a big trade. I mean,
Huge.
Bringing him into the secondary, which is a secondary that has been struggling throughout this year. James Bradbury has been cooked a lot. He has been cooked. Darius Slay has been solid for the most part. You're not really hearing his name, but he has regressed.
He definitely
has. For sure.
Yep. Especially in the speed category.
For sure. Let's talk these next 6 games. The gauntlet, as we could call it. They play Dallas this week. Then they have the bye week. They have Kansas City, against Buffalo at home, against San Francisco at home, at Dallas, and at Seattle. What is your projection over those 6 games?
I have the Eagles going 2-4. I mean, this week, I think they'll beat Dallas. And then next week, I think they will clean up the mistakes. But then they're going to go into KC, and KC is going to be very much ready for them. Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose at home. So I think that's going to be a loss. Then Buffalo comes to Philly. I think you'll beat Buffalo pretty easily. I do think Buffalo will slip up, and you guys will handle them. But then the 49ers, which this is the 49ers Super Bowl pretty much, they hate you guys.
They should.
They absolutely hate you guys.
They should.
So I think that one will be a loss for you guys. And then Dallas again, that's a loss. You're going into Jerry World. And then going to Seattle, that's a tough place to play at. The 12th man, as they call it. I feel like you guys could slip that one away. But I do have you guys closing out after that 3-0. So.
Well, I disagree. I have 5-1. You can call me Crystal Ball Sonny. I got 5-1. That is going to do it for this edition of Head to Head Sports Debate. That was Tristan Maines. I am Sonny Terranova. We will see you guys in the next one. Go Birds, and we'll see you in the next one.